It's been a big political year, 2024. It's only going to get bigger, of course. We're only a few months out from the election. Let's get a final hit out from my favourite panel. I'm not going to speak for the nation necessarily, but Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister, Patrick Gorman, and former Liberal MP Jason Falinski. Gentlemen, thank you both for your time. We're in a slightly reflective mood. Let's just get a little bit of policy out of the way and then have a bit of fun maybe. Pat, I know you've been itching to see this nuclear policy from the coalition. It's been unveiled. One of your big criticisms has been what will happen to power prices in the first term. You know, does it help? Is that a bit hard for Labor to be asking about when the big promise from Chris Bowen, it's not going to happen? The $2.75 of power bills, it's not going to happen.
Well, that was an outcome that was projecting based on what we knew. And what we didn't know was there had been secret deals or secret decisions made by the coalition government when they were in government in 2022 to up power prices for the national energy market. Thankfully, they don't have that control here in the West. So we've got our own energy grid, an energy grid that was completely forgotten in the nuclear plan that was released on Friday. Now, what I think everyone knows is that if you read any credible reports, nuclear power in 2024 is one of the most expensive forms of energy, and it will take more than a decade to build not the entire set of power plants that have been promised, but just to build the first one. So if you want a plan to get power prices down, you need to back renewables firmed by battery storage and gas. That's what we're doing. It is the best way forward. And for many families, and indeed in my electorate, they got an extra $350 off their power bill in the December billing cycle because of the work that we've done to make sure that families in Western Australia get energy bill relief now.
That's all that GST money we're sending over. Me and Jason write out the checks every month. It's killing us. Jason, let me ask you on this policy. As someone who, you know, no longer a member, you don't have to worry about that sort of stuff, were you genuinely surprised that a big part of the coalition's plan is 40% less energy compared to Labor? I know they're both AEMO estimates, but it seems to me they're really banking on less energy use. If that doesn't happen, I'm not sure what plan B is.
Well, Tom, the reason for that is that if you're using renewables and you want to have reliable power, you need to overproduce power. And then, of course, you need to shift it round to places where the wind is blowing and the sun isn't shining.
No, but
and
this
that,
is just how much energy will be needed in the country.
Disparity between costs.
That's
right, Tom. So I think that's right. Because if you have dispatchable power, that power you need less of. So that's the reason why you find that you need to produce less power.
This is that there'll be less demand in the country. There are two options. There's the progressive and the step guide. AEMO says, pick your option, and the coalition has chosen the one with 40% less. Forget what source it is. It's 40% less demand for energy. Does that surprise you, the coalition's assuming that will happen?
No, I think that we're just using the assumptions that the government is using, and we're trying to get a level playing field in these assumptions. I mean, you know, Tom, what we've seen in the last 3 years... It's not a level playing field, Jason.
You've taken two different assumptions. It's not a level playing field. You've taken an assumption for Labor's policy.
We've taken the same...
Liberal Party's taken a very different assumption. No, you haven't. And even the people who are backing your plan...
Do these assumptions... Patrick, do these assumptions come from AEMO?
But they're two.
The answer is they do. They come from AEMO. They come from the government's market operator. Well, of course they're two different ones. We're just using the assumptions that you're using. We're using them. Tom's question is, am I surprised they're using the lower assumption?
You've taken the option of assuming a lot less energy use, including EVs not getting the take-up that Labor's predicting. So what's surprising me about that is that seems to be the coalition banking on that, on less energy, whereas, I don't know, AI takes off and who knows what else, and data centres. Green hydrogen's a big one. Maybe that doesn't take off. If it does, I don't see that we'll have enough energy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the moment, green hydrogen doesn't look like it's taking off. Even Twiggy Forrest has wound back most of his investment in that, despite his rhetoric. Yes, I agree with you on the EV point. I only see us picking up or buying more EVs, not less EVs, so that would be a big issue. In terms of data centres, as latency improves, I suspect most data centres will continue to be located overseas, but you can't count on that. And of course, Tom, that's the big issue, which we all need to get our heads around, which is predicting the future 5 years ahead is difficult. And when Labor tried to predict the future 3 years ahead back in 2022, as Patrick has admitted, they got the assumptions massively wrong. And that doesn't mean that either side is right.
Look, there's a bit of both there.
Our best guess.
Coalition clearly delayed the increase announcement, but Labor wouldn't have hit it anyway. There we go. You've both got one there. Let's move on. Let's get to the less serious bit. I asked you both for funny moments. Now, this one, Jason actually selected. He tried to handball it to Pat because it made more sense, because it was Mark Speakman. He was on 2GB. He's struggling a bit in the polling against Chris Minns, and this was him not quite pleading, but hoping he'd get a more regular spot next year on the program. Let's have a listen in.
Okay, I've also suggested that next time if you hear Chris Minns on this radio show and you think he's spinning BS, call in and call him out.
I'd hope to be on your program regularly next year. I'd like to be here once a fortnight, and let's see if we can do that after Christmas.
You want to be here once a fortnight?
Yeah, if you'll have me.
You've got to be a bit more interesting.
Well, look, if you want me to come along and tell a few jokes, I can do that. But I think the people of New South Wales are more interested in balancing their budget at the moment.
That's why it's best to sort that out when you're not on air, whether you're getting a slot or not. Has that happened to you, Jason? Is that why this one really stood out? Where you're going, hey, how are we looking next year? And someone said, we'll let you know.
Well, listen, Tom, you were right to ask me this question, because as you remember, last year, and both of you laughed at me, last year I predicted that during the presidential debate, one of the candidates would accuse the other candidate of eating cats and dogs. And that happened this year. And you didn't think that would happen. But look, if it comes to being interested and getting people on air, well, they should go to Patrick. I mean, as we know of this troika, here's the interesting one. Here's the entertaining one.
Well, you like to give a few grabs. You're one of those people willing to go against the party line. Did it serve you well? I don't know. Maybe the hint is the fact you're the former member for Mackellar, and they didn't put you up there as treasurer as you should have been. Yes. And Pat, so for you, Pat, a bit more relentlessly online, but let's play this one, because one thing you're always willing to do, no matter how ridiculous it is go to the stunt. We had a rich archive here. We only had a small amount of time to do it. I don't even know what stunt is this. Let's just roll what Pat Gawn was doing on any particular day in Parliament.
Did you get those through security?
I asked myself the same question, Andrew. I'll just say I looked high and low across Australia for the largest pair of scissors I could find. These are from Hire King in Canning Vale, a great West Australian business. And these are the largest scissors I've been able to find anywhere in Australia for the big cuts that Peter Dutton is planning.
He keeps a straight face until he comes on the afternoon with Sky News. I guess this is the question.
I thought we were going to do a montage of all these. I thought we didn't. Weren't we going to do a montage of all the big checks he's produced?
No, I know there's a big check somewhere.
Too many big checks. Fair enough.
Producer Sophie might have. Well, yeah, there is too much. But let me ask you this, Pat. Have you ever said? Obviously, head office goes, Pat, we need a bit more attention. Thinking, have you ever said no? That will cheapen me, or is it always a cheery yes?
Look, I think you can do politics with purpose and entertainment. I'm a strong believer in that. There have been a few ideas that have bounced around that I've kind of thought, look, maybe the purpose will get lost in the stunt. But on the big
so it's never
scissors,
about you.
I was, as I said.
You'll do it. You'll do anything. You don't. It's not about you and whether you're feeling embarrassed. It's about the message.
Well, I think.
Hey, Tom, maybe we should suggest to the Prime Minister's office. I was going to say, maybe we should suggest to the Prime Minister's office that
including deal with the delay with Jason. That on some days the latency, as Jason was just saying before, is a little bit too much, even across the country. But look, on this one, I mean, I think if you're going to talk about cuts, go hard or go home. I was happy to make that point, and I'm always happy to try and make sure it's really clear what we're talking about.
There must be
embarrassing things in politics.
A whole host of
Jason's done the same.
Weird small businesses near
Jason
you.
had to defend Scott Morrison. That was embarrassing.
They exist purely on your weird bespoke requests and charge you thousands of dollars for it. All right, we're nearly out of time, which on this show with you guys means we're about 2 minutes over. Very quickly, give me a big, bold prediction for 2025 in whatever area of life you'd like it to be. Jason, you first.
2 federal elections next year, Tom. I predict that the Greens lose all their seats and then Anthony Albanese has to do a deal with the Teals, and that falls apart when they can't agree on who should be Deputy Prime Minister and suggest job sharing for 6 months.
That is bold. Geez. Pat, can you top that?
I was going to go a little bit smaller than that. I was going to suggest that by this time next year, I think you'll find that Max Chandler-Mather is a Sky News opinion leader, appearing regularly in the evening period.
Because he has a bit more spare time, I'm assuming, is the parenthesis.
A bit more spare
there.
time and he might need the cash.
All right.
And entertainment value
too.
Who
knows? Yes, well, you might have someone to up you on stunts. It's either Max or Pat that does that. Look, Pat, Jason, thank you for your time as ever this year. We'll see you in the lead up to the election. Merry Christmas and enjoy the holidays. Thank you.